what's up? Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell up above for future uploads, and check out the links posted in the description down below to support the channel. Make sure you're following me over on Rumble and Odysee. Thank you. So what I'm going to talk about today is a review of Obi Wan Kenobi Episode 3. This episode is terrible. The first two episodes were okay, but this is really terrible. Now I know what you're going to say, Ninja, they've Darth Vader in this episode. This episode kicks off very well. It kicks off with Darth Vader and I'm like, yes, loving it. Now, from what I understand, the Darth Vader character has been voiced by James Earl Jones in this series, but it's been voiced through an artificial intelligence technology. Now, this is something that they have done with Luke Skywalker already, and allegedly is something they have done with Iceman in Top Gun Maverick. So when you're looking and hearing about that, you're like, whoa, that doesn't seem cool, and yet they're out there going, this is great. Very strange. Anyway, that's the world that we live in. Speaking of Top Gun Maverick, far superior movie to anything that Disney have done with the Star Wars brand, and a very, very good, I would say, example of how you bring back an established property, a legacy character, treat him with respect, and then bring in new characters that are very likeable and that you make likeable throughout the story with a very solid story. Top Gun Maverick is where it should be at. Now, I will say to you, rather than spending money here on Disney Star Wars, spend it on Top Gun Maverick. Well worth it. Well worth it. And that's where these companies need to learn from. They need to learn from, this is entertainment and enjoyment, and here's how you bring back a character that's beloved by the people. Not what they do to Obi Wan Kenobi here. So this episode starts off now with them talking to this mole-faced, rat-faced character because they become impatient. They get on his little barge and off they go on their merry way. Fast forward down a couple of minutes, Obi-Wan Kenobi makes a comment then about it being a mining world now. It used to be beautiful looking, so lovely little bit of social commentary on the climate nonsense, I suppose, and maybe something to do with the pipeline in America and the pipeline here in Ireland that they refuse to open to help the people out. Odd, isn't it? Yet these are the same people that tell you about all this climate stuff and they fly around in private jets and all these type of things. Mad. Anyway, what happens then is stormtroopers get on to this little barge, and of course this mole-faced, rat-faced individual loves the Empire. Again, the Empire is known for not liking different species or anything like that, but this guy is absolutely in love with them. So this is the way Disney Star Wars have gone. They've gone from the Empire being very clear and obvious bad guys to being like, the Empire is super diverse. Okay, that's fair enough. Stormtroopers get on board. They talk away to Obi Wan Kenobi and Leia, who are under assumed names, and they speak away to the Stormtroopers. Of course, the Stormtroopers haven't got images of Obi Wan Kenobi. They haven't been told, hey, look out for a man and a little girl. You know what I mean? That's not been done here with these characters, but I'll take it from a low level point of view here. Then you have Obi Wan Kenobi that makes a slip, and he says Leia. And what's weird about Ewan McGregor's performance in this episode is, and in the previous episodes, he keeps mentioning her name. I think it's very odd when someone keeps mentioning her name consistently and constantly. There's only the two of them hanging around, so why do you keep calling her Leia every time? He's like a teenager. So anyway, they make it into a bit of a tense situation, which I'm okay with. I think that's okay within this series, and that's fine. But the way you do it is you make Obi-Wan Kenobi slip instead of the little girl. Now, the reason why you make Obi-Wan Kenobi slip is so that you can have a little brief moment between the two of them, and she asks him, did you know my real mother? And he says, yes. And she said, are you my dad? And he says, no. So that's what it's all about. Had this nice little moment with them. But anyway, the Stormies get off then, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, along with the rat-faced individual and Leia, arrive here at a crossroads. Now, as you can see here, on both sides, there is a laser grid which they could have easily walked around, but they don't. What happens is this. Obi-Wan Kenobi is told to disembark because the rat-faced individual says, hey, these two people, there's something up with them, there is. Of course, doesn't make the people that were in the back of the truck aware of this fact as they were getting on, nor does he say it whilst they're on the barge. No, doesn't say anything like that. Gets off and tells these people, oi, look what's going on here. So that's fine. But what happens then is Obi-Wan Kenobi, who couldn't hit a barn door for the last two episodes with the blaster, turns into John Wick and takes out about 6 Stormies then really quickly. And it's like, okay, right, he's a bit rusty earlier on, that's fine, that's fair enough. And that's cool. But then what happens is he then proceeds to go over, and instead of walking around the laser grid, which he could easily do, he decides to shoot it out. And most rational, logical people say, okay, you're not going to keep wandering here aimlessly throughout desert. Jump back onto the barge, drive it through. Because that's why you shot the laser out, right? No. He starts to walk through with Leia. And as a result then, opposite him comes stormtroopers on another little ship, and they get off. Now there's 3 of them, and they are followed up then by a female Imperial officer. Now as he's walking through, a female's voice comes from the stormtrooper armour and says to him to get on the ground. Of course Obi Wan obliges, and he's on the ground with the blaster pointing at them. This is insane levels of things that are happening. He's gone John Wick on about 6 stormtroopers, yet won't take out 3, and then another person then that's behind him that's unarmed. But of course the reason why this is done is to show you that the female is going to save Obi-Wan not once but twice in this episode. She takes out the 3 stormtroopers that are in front of her, and then reveals herself to be the contact that he was supposed to meet with Leia on this planet, but they didn't wait around long enough. And then you say to yourself, okay, so they have come from the opposite direction. How come they didn't come from behind them? That'd have been better storytelling in my opinion. Obi-Wan is preparing to get onto this, his back is turned, and there's a gun pointed at him. Or a blaster, if you want to go that way. Freeze. And caught. Instead he walks directly towards these people and then allows them to do what they're doing. He has a lightsaber here also. So why not ignite it then at that point in time? And the ignition of the lightsaber throughout this episode is embarrassing. I thought it was going to be this crowd pleasing, look at this moment. It's not. It turns into an absolute farce. So this is the issue that you have with this. This laser grid just really shows the stupidity of this show, to be honest with you. And she helps them out and brings them down to a little town. In the little town, what they do is then they talk about a little tunnel that they have and that Jedi are here, and he talks about Quinlan. Quinlan was here. Now, in my opinion, that's probably the character that O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ice Cube's son, is going to play. And wouldn't you know, Ice Cube's son is now out on the internet being like, oh, I can't wait to see the people that are going to be so outraged by the character that I'm playing. Trying to make it about what he looks like. And it's like, okay, well, most people would have said that Quinlan Vos was probably more Native American looking, but okay, if you want to have that character, that's fine. Once you're good, that's the main thing. Or a lot of people maybe would have suggested Jason Momoa out there for that character. That would have been maybe a good one. But anyway, I digress. They go to this town, and in this town then, Obi Wan Kenobi's hiding out, and they're chatting away, and instead of moving through the tunnels quickly as he should do, he waits around, and then the Inquisitors turn up. But that's not all. Darth Vader turns up, and Darth Vader comes through the town and murks people. I have to say, at that moment in time, I nearly stood up off the seat and clapped. I was like, oh my god, this is incredible. This is what I want to see. This is what we should have been doing for the last number of years. We should have had seasons of Darth Vader doing exactly this, showing how ruthless he is, why people feared him, why he was absolutely terrifying to everyone and anyone around him. So much so even the Inquisitors get afraid. It's awesome. And Jedi Fallen Order does the same thing. When the second sister hears Darth Vader coming along, she bricks it because she knows that's it, game over. Brilliant moment. But then it's effectively ruined very quickly after that then, because Vader is treated like a character from a horror series, which is fine. I think that is excellent. But what then happens is then Obi Wan Kenobi, whose mission over the last 2 episodes, by the way, he has abandoned Luke Skywalker. Let's just remember that now. For nearly 3 episodes now, abandoned Luke Skywalker, the one he's supposed to be taking care of and watching over. Who's watching over Luke now? Of course, in Disney Star Wars, Luke Skywalker is not important. It's Princess Leia. But what does Obi Wan Kenobi do? Instead of going with Leia and saying, okay, I'm going to make sure you're okay, he abandons her too. So then you can all see what's going to happen coming down, which is Reva at the end, or Reva, whatever she's called. She picks Leia up, and fine. But what then happens is Obi-Wan Kenobi decides to draw out Vader. We'll get into that image now in a moment. He decides to draw out Vader. And they go to a mining facility, which is fine. But in my opinion, if you change this planet to maybe a woodland planet, this episode would have been much better. It gives grounds that they can move up and down in. It gives ground for Vader to hide in. It gives the ability for him to come out from behind a tree, like he does from, say, for example, in Empire Strikes Back. He comes out of positions, which he does do in this series and in this fairly effectively, but it just seems like there's so much open land that when Obi Wan Kenobi can't hear him or sense him or feel him coming or anything like that, you're saying to yourself, well, like, that's not really realistic. Putting her in this open territory seems really stupid, and then trying to heighten a sense of fear with a character that actively has a light source is really stupid. So there's no crowd pleasing moment. This is my problem then with the lightsaber ignition. It's just on. Now you're thinking to yourself the exact same thing that I am. So he ignites the lightsaber to face Darth Vader in episode 3. But in episode 1 and 2, he decides to run away from the Inquisitors. Now, not only does he decide to run away from them, but in slapstick fashion here in this episode, he runs away from Vader. I honestly thought for a moment that the TV was after switching over to like a Monty Python sketch with the way he ran away from Darth Vader. I couldn't believe it. I was sitting there going, how did we go from Vader murking people to this Laurel and Hardy type shtick that this guy is doing? And that's why fans have a problem with this episode. So of course he has a little battle with Vader and on, he looks incredibly weak. And what's very peculiar is, because he does do it in previous episodes, particularly in episode 5 and 6, Vader does no shit talking. None. He lets his power show Obi-Wan that he's much stronger than him. At this moment in time, this would have been the perfect time for Vader to shit talk him, to induce fear, to push that forward, to make Obi-Wan doubt himself. And that's why Vader comes out looking the victor, or being the victor in this duel. But he doesn't. So it just makes Obi-Wan look cowardly. It makes him look small. It makes him look like he's defeated. And you're looking at it going, this is the Luke Skywalker Last Jedi all over again. It's the exact same thing. So what happens then is Vader and Obi-Wan finish up then towards a field, and Vader lights it on fire. And I would admittedly say it is top stuff when he's dragging him through the fire. I was like, holy moly. And then he's like, yeah, see how it feels. But that energy of shit talking him wasn't there earlier on in the episode, which I thought was a pity. And I thought there was definitely more commentary that could have been given from Vader towards him about the past and about Padme and about Mustafar, whatever it might have been. You know what I mean? I thought that would have been a good thing, but they didn't utilise it. Now, has that got something to do with the fact that allegedly at this point in time that was an artificial intelligence voice that was done for Vader? Maybe. And that's where you lose out with artificial intelligence, I suppose, when it comes to these things. You know, really poignant moments in my view. So he drags Obi-Wan through it. Obi-Wan's lightsaber is knocked off. Obi-Wan obviously can't use the Force at this moment in time, and he's goosed. He's in trouble. So at that moment in time, I half thought to myself, I was like, okay, what's going to happen here now is Quinlan Vos is going to pop out somewhere, and he's the contact that they're supposed to go to, and Quinlan comes in and rescues Obi-Wan. No. It was the other thought that I had, which was, okay, the woman from Game of Thrones that was married to Pedro Pascal, who's now in this series now, she pops out of nowhere. On the side of Darth Vader, they have created a fire, by the way, and a stormtrooper, and nobody looks around. If you're Darth Vader, should you not be looking around you constantly thinking, high ground, high ground, high ground, problem, problem, problem. Keep me stormtroopers, there's about 20 of there. Keep an eye on up above there while I do what I'm doing to this fella here. No, he sends one lone stormtrooper across, and she shoots at the stormtrooper and takes him out, and everyone is surprised. Now, bear in mind what has happened only a couple of minutes beforehand. Darth Vader has literally murked people in a town. This woman possesses no Force abilities whatsoever that we know of at this point in time. He doesn't drag her down from where she is and decides to look at Kenobi and do what he's doing then with relation to that. No, he lets her run away, run around the fire, which the stormtroopers and Vader himself could do, pick up Obi-Wan and escape. And our episode then ends with Reva on the other end of the tunnel picking up Princess Leia. And oh my god, I can't believe that they've committed such stupidity in an episode. This episode was the episode to work towards building the fear. If you're a competent writer, now what you've gotten now at this moment is you've gotten a beaten Obi Wan Kenobi that you're like, well, is he going to win against Vader at some stage throughout this series? Or why should we care even about this character? Because this character ran away from Darth Vader. He's ran away from Reva and the Grand Inquisitor, and was the Grand Inquisitor's on the ground, of course. So why should we care? And that's the predicament that Star Wars fans are in now, because again, it's something that we've been shown repeatedly over the years. They've done it again as well too with Boba Fett. The book of Boba Fett was terrible. I love Tamara Morrison, but my lord, that was a terrible TV series. But they've done it yet again here now to another legacy character, another important character, another male character. And it's consistent destruction. This company needs to be bought out. This license, this IP needs to be bought out by somebody, because this cannot continue the way it's going. Because it's doing what it is doing and it's driving fans away, and even the most casual of fan is looking at this and going, yeah, how come you ignited the lightsaber in the middle of a minefield so that you could see Darth Vader? Why didn't you have any energy for that in episode 2? How come you're not able to battle Darth Vader? And how come your ass has been saved not once but twice by the same female character? And how come Darth Vader isn't dealing with that? Like, Darth Vader could potentially grab that person and then be like, hey, you have tunnels going out through this place. Or get it reported to him. And he's like, okay, we're going to find out who else you have here. Set a big showdown then going forward. No, they don't do that. So this series is lacking intelligence, and I think I was right with relation to the way Leia's dialogue is in this episode. It's a lot more childlike, and I think in the first 2 episodes it was definitely written by that lady that I'd shown in the previous review for sure. Another weak point of this series as well is the music. There's a great lack of music and a lack of solid music really too. They could have gotten John Williams back for this, which is what I would have done, or maybe even Hans Zimmer, who was really, really top of his game at this stage. Get someone really solid in there. I know Ludwig Göransson, who was the musical artist, I would say, for the Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian. Maybe he's busy with Mandalorian related stuff, but he's awesome. He's brilliant at what he does. This series is lacking music too. It's lacking the tension that comes through music. It's lacking the epicness. I mean, imagine the Anakin versus Obi-Wan music, even motif playing through these two facing off each other. It would have been awesome. It would have been great. Maybe a little bit more overtly, maybe a bit of Duel of the Fates, maybe something like that. Something. But it's just flat. And that's what this series is. It's flat. So we're halfway through this series now at this stage. It is flatter to deceive. It has been very poor. It's been reviewed poorly now on different websites. Of course, now the Access Media are saying that's fans that are Aristophobes. No. It's fans that are like me looking at this going, this is terrible. And they're voicing their opinions because the days of the media being the ones that are telling fans what to think are over. The days of them being the voice of the fans are over. This is why Hayden Christensen, for example, in Star Wars Celebration that's only been on there last weekend, is completely shocked at the reception he's getting. He's completely surprised. He's like, people love me. He's like, people like me. They enjoyed my character of Anakin. Yes, they did. I was one of them. Absolutely loved him. But the media didn't give that portrayal at all. The media harassed and harangued him basically out of acting. Not the fans. The fans loved him. Now, there will be people out there that maybe have problems with his performance, or they have issues with the way he played Anakin and Darth Vader, and that's fine. But I can tell you this, as someone who was growing up at the same time as those movies were released, I loved his performance. If anything, I probably would have swapped Jake Lloyd for Hayden Christensen in episode 1 and had him progress from a later stage teenager or even mid-teenager all the way throughout those movies to really build why he was angry. That's exactly what I would have done. That was the only change I probably would have made in episode 1. Everything else I'd have left there as it was. But I'm telling you, Hayden Christensen was someone that was popular amongst fans, someone that I greatly enjoyed, and I have to say, when you're growing up throughout those years and you grow up with that character, you can get an awful lot of his point of view. Not all of it, but you can get a savage amount of it, and you can understand when he comes from the position that he's in and he has this council that are doing hypocritical things, and he sees other people, and he's given this and he's given that, and he attains power. You can see how it corrupts this guy. So this is a series that doesn't understand these characters. It understands how to put Darth Vader into someone and make him look badass, which is great, which is fantastic. But it would be very, very worried about the character of Darth Vader should they decide to make a TV series based on him. It could be the same thing yet again. And that's why fans are critical of this series. That's why this series has been received the way it is. And that's why you are seeing consistent and constant destructions of these characters. And then these people then turn around and blame the fans. I'm telling you, as a consumer, as a fan, how you could make this series better. This series didn't need to go this way. This series didn't need Obi Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader facing off against each other in episode 3 midway throughout the season. It didn't need to do that. It didn't need to have Obi Wan Kenobi running around like Dr. Zoidberg from the Futurama TV series. It didn't need to do that. All it needed to do was it needed to show Vader maybe at a point in time where the mask was damaged, and for Kenobi to realise, oh no, that's Anakin. Not for Reeves to turn around and say, hey, you know Anakin Skywalker's alive, you know he's Darth Vader, he's still running around. It's a bad idea. Anyway, when you get bad writers, when you get bad people at the helm, this is exactly what you get. And unfortunately, I think it's going to get worse from here on out. We've got episode 4, 5 and 6 to go on. I'm not looking forward to them. I really will say this. After episode 1 and 2, I was like, we give it a watch. We'll see if it's okay. And then episode 3 came out and I was like, oh no. I was like, this has totally deflated the balloon immediately. And this company are aware of that. That's why they're attacking fans. That's exactly why. Anyway, I'm going to leave the video there. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell up above for future uploads. Check out the links posted in the description down below to support the channel. Follow me on Rumble and Odysee. I'll talk to you later. Good luck. Due to the limiting of the truth on this platform, make sure you're following me over here on Odysee and on Rumble. Thank you. Make sure you're following me over here on Gab at ninja_knight and over here on Gettr at the_ninja knight.